What's going on, guys? My name is Wham Bam Duel, and this is a new idea that kind of popped into my head recently. So, in some of my spare time, a friend of mine and I have been doing our own little version of Simo's Yu-Gi-Oh! Progression series for fun. Obviously, when you do way more than one set per week, and even several sets a day, you can easily get ahead of where Alex and Gage currently are. When my friend and I opened up 24 packs of Invasion Vengeance, I happened to pull a very lucky secret rare, Totally Awesome, also known simply as Toad for anyone who doesn't want to sound like a complete buffoon. After pulling Toad from Invasion Vengeance, I quickly went on to make a Paleo Frog deck that absolutely decimated my friend. At first, I was sad that I didn't get a second copy, but I soon realized that one was more than enough thanks to his self-recursion. It began to remind me of a certain stand ability from Jojo's Bizarre Adventure Part 4. This is where the basis of this hopefully soon-to-be series comes from. The idea of taking Jojo stands and finding an existing Yu-Gi-Oh card that functions similar to the stand's abilities. While Toad may not have the ability to make anything explode, its three effects can be loosely associated with Killer Queen's three abilities at the end of Part 4. Toad's first effect, to detach and special summon a frog from the deck during the standby phase, immediately reminds me of Sheer Heart Attack, where Kira detaches a part of his hand to deploy a sort of scapegoat to distract Jotaro and Koichi. Most of the time, I found myself using Toad's standby phase effect to summon Dupe Frog, a scapegoat meant to distract the opponent's battling monsters. Both Killer Queen and Toad can detach a part of themselves to summon a scapegoat that can take attacks in their place, even though Dupe Frog is way easier to get rid of than Sheer Heart Attack was. The second effect is one that has the least in common with Killer Queen, the ability to once per turn send one Aqua-type monster from your hand or field to the graveyard to negate one of your opponent's effects. It just doesn't really give off the vibe of touching something and making it explode. But, and I'm really stretching here, I know Kira does sort of use this ability of Killer Queen to negate people from learning his identity. He, in a way, used his ability to make items explode to negate Shigechi's efforts to identify himself to Josuke and Okuyasu. As I said, this is probably the loosest connection between the two's abilities, but there's at least something there, I think. And finally, what the two have most in common, when compromised, they can return to safety. Kira does this by traveling back in time with Bites the Dust, and Toad does this by traveling back to the extra deck if you choose for him to recur himself when he's sent to the graveyard. Every time I used Toad to send it back to the extra deck to be summoned again, I kept getting that feeling of, yes, it activated, as my Toad returns to a place of safety. In EDO Pro, watching Toad move from the graveyard to the extra deck gave me the exact same feeling as watching Kira travel back in time using Bites the Dust, and is what originally gave me the idea for making this connection and video in the first place. I feel like if Yoshikage Kira lived in the world of Yu-Gi-Oh! As opposed to the world of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, there is no doubt in my mind that he would play a Paleo Frog deck with Toad as his boss monster. Frog monsters, just like Kira, have a very unassuming exterior appearance, but once you face them in battle, they have abilities that you'd truly never expect them to have. And who knows, maybe he'd sprinkle in a few copies of Ring of Destruction to chain his Paleos in the graveyard too, so his deck has that little explosive element that Toad is missing. The only other thing he'd need to do is replace the cats on his tie with frogs. Overall, I feel like one can make some solid links between Totally Awesome, wow, I really just said that card's full name, and Killer Queen that obviously were completely unintended, but are still fun to think about. After thinking about this, the obvious stand card connection I can make next time is Arcana Force 21 The World and Dio's stand whose name escapes me at the moment. But that will be for the next video in this, hopefully soon to be, series of comparing JoJo stands to Yu-Gi-Oh cards, mainly just for fun. Be sure to comment below if you can think of a card that can better match Killer Queen, or a stand that can better match Toad. Hope you'll join me next time. I'm Wham Bam Duel. and I'm always happy to see ya.